Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I'm joined by a very special guest and fellow podcaster, Andy Burrows of the DC Tweet Team Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me, Andy.
Anytime, my friend. Anything for you. Good evening to you, sir.
Yes, and it's not a very cheerful episode of Post-Game Reaction Pod to the 20-15 loss to the Seattle Seahawks. Let's break this down by quarter, Andy. The first quarter, it's 3-0. It ends. The offense hasn't gotten much going, and the defense looked to be playing bend but don't break at that point. How were you feeling about the game?
Yeah, first half, I was a bit deflated. I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, I think we only had a total of 33 yards.
Yeah.
Dwayne Haskins was like a total of 8 yards. So you're kind of thinking, oh no, what's happened here? But then you kind of remember, oh, we're the Washington football team. This is sometimes what we do, and I don't know what happens. You spoke about it. I spoke about it. We seem to be a second half football team. So you're kind of in the mentality now of, okay, this is maybe what we do. Things can only get better.
Yeah, and then right after that, the Seattle gets the touchdown to Jacob Hollister, which was just a great ball by Russell Wilson. He just fired that thing in there. And the linebackers were a concern today, but do you think that the linebackers were the difference in this game, Andy?
Yes and no. I mean, I think there was a lot of factors to this game that why we didn't win. I think we left ourselves a little bit too much to do, but then, you know, you look at things like missed field or missed extra points and things like that cost us. So yes and no. I mean, we were missing some key players today, and then we picked up a few injuries during the game. We didn't help ourselves in that first half of football. Injuries are key, but we dug ourselves too big of a hole to get out of. You know, and you can't. That's not all on the quarterback, but you know, it plays a part, obviously.
Yeah, so let me ask you, what was your opinion of Haskins' play in that first half and then in the game in total?
In the first half, I thought he played as a very nervous man. He knew he had some pressure on him. He knew he was being watched. But I saw a young guy showed improvements when we last saw him, week 4? He threw, you know, he had an interception in the first quarter, but he got tipped. So you can't really put him on that. Yeah, I saw a very nervous young man. I saw plays that were they were dumbed down less than they normally are for him. You know what I mean? I thought it was a bit dink and dunk. It was the Seahawks must have loved that because you could tell they had prepared for it. They knew they weren't gonna. The Washington football team weren't going to take big risks with Haskins, so they knew what they were coming up against. It was literally, you know, hence why we had a total of 33 yards in the first quarter. It was dink and dunk, and as soon as Terry McLaurin or anyone got the ball, the Seahawks were all over us.
Yeah, and it seemed like Scott Turner in the second half really started to utilize Logan Thomas more. He ended the day with 13 receptions, 101 yards on 15 targets. That's a great reception rate for Logan Thomas, a career day for him. He was a huge difference maker in this game. And I have to give a little bit of credit for Haskins coming back in that second half, but the difference in this game was the interceptions. You know, they were crucial interceptions. One was a huge point swing, meaning that the Washington football team was in field goal range. It could have easily gotten points out of that drive. It gets swung back to the Seattle Seahawks getting a touchdown off of it. And then to start the second half, Andy, I'll tell you, that big run by Carlos Hyde, that huge touchdown run, I thought that was the big difference in the game, in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought that turned the game big time. It sort of knocked the wind out of ourselves at that point. And, you know, I wasn't quite sure how far if we could come back from that. But then it kind of showed another side of Haskins, you know, the character in him we were so close to coming back, and we could have tied that game up if it wasn't for missed extra points. We could have got a field goal on that last drive. You know, Haskins he could have been under less pressure. All he would have to have done was get us in field goal range. I know I say that, but then Hopkins would have still had to kick the field goal, so God knows whether he would have made it. But yeah, that touchdown, it changed the game, but that proved to me as well that this football team never gives up. We
No.
were still coming back. We were still trying. We were still making plays. Like you say, Logan Thomas was really good. I thought J.D. McKissick had there was more signs there of the spirit of this team if you had asked me that question this time last season.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, so to that being said, Dwayne, I thought at that point in time, I had tweeted out, it's at the end of the third quarter, it's 20-3. I put out a tweet that says, they might be pulling the plug on Dwayne. I feel like this is the drive. He's got to do something here. And he answered that call. They drove down the field. I believe it was 96 yards. They drove down the field to get that touchdown. That was absolutely huge. It was a great move by Dwayne. The second touchdown as well to J.D. McKissick. That was on the run. I thought that he had a great throw to Cam Sims at one point where he's moving to his left. And in stride, he's able to hit Cam Sims for the first down. I thought Dwayne Haskins played a very good game in that second half. So, Andy, do you gain more confidence out of Dwayne with this game?
Yeah, just the fact that he, if this was Dwayne in week 4 and we were down by that score coming into the second half, he might have gone into his shell and crumbled. But he even said after the game, they said, what brought on that comeback? He said, I got mad. So if I want him to get mad every game that he plays in. If that's the performance that he puts in, I thought he showed that he has listened. You can tell he has listened. He has got his head in his playbook. Yes, he made mistakes, Carl, but it's just, what is it? His 12th ever game in the NFL today? 12th ever game in the National Football League. And that's what I'm, when you tweeted out earlier, any questions for this pod, and, I was like, I want to understand why our fan base constantly bash the man. You know what I mean? On social media today during the game, I was getting into it with fans. Haskins is trash. Get him out. Haskins, 12th game in the NFL. He's been dumped after 4 weeks. Been sat on the sidelines, not even as the backup. His head's probably all over the place. He's then come back, got his head in his playbook, supported his teammates, supported his team, and he's put in a solid performance in that second half. So I have to take my hat off to him and say, look, is he the answer? No, we know that. We know Alex Smith's going to be back next week. He's not the answer. But I saw improvements in Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah, and so did I. And I'll tell you, Andy, a lot of the fan base likes to point this as like a race thing whenever it comes with Dwayne. But I feel like there's an underlying factor here that a lot of people do forget. And I'm very public about this, and that Dwayne Haskins was Dan Snyder's pick. So the animosity that fans have towards Dwayne isn't more towards about the color of his skin. It's more about the fact that this is Dan Snyder's boy and that this is like a Dan Snyder pick and justification that Dan Snyder should not be involved with football operations. So that's why you have a lot of people very critical of Dwayne in the way that he plays. But I will tell you, I was very intrigued by the way that he played in that second half. I really liked what I saw. The offense was up and moving, and obviously that pick in the red zone early on in that game, which they could have gotten 3 points out of, and the extra point was the difference in the game. And that's what Dwayne has to realize and understand. Alex Smith isn't perfect. He probably would have had a similar type of game, but Alex would most likely would not have turned over the football like that. In that situation, I know on some of the play calls, some receivers were running the similar routes. So obviously the play calls getting through is still somewhat of a concern. But in that second half, resiliency. You just see this team there's no quit in their vocabulary. It doesn't matter who's on the field, next man up mentality. They come in and they do their best to put themselves in a position to win the game. And that's what they did. They didn't lay down when they were down 20-3 to begin the second half. They've clawed and fought their way back. I am very intrigued by them. This is a young team that's learning how to win, and this was a very good Seahawks team that they almost beat. They should have beaten, to be honest.
Yeah, it was. It is a good seat, and it proves how far we've come. That we're sitting here and we're disappointed that we didn't come back in the game. Like you said, last season, I spoke to Maurice during the game, and I said to him, this time last season was done. We were finished. You know what I mean? We're playing meaningful football in December. That's what a lot of people have to realize. This team has come so far. So yeah, be disappointed that we didn't win a game, but then slowly just wind it back a little bit and put things into perspective and say, look, 2 games left, Panthers and Eagles. Who knows what's happening with the Giants? We might not even need to, we want to win, but we could still get 8-8 could get you in the playoffs, you know. And once you're in, who knows what can happen in football? Look at the year the Eagles went and won the Super Bowl.
Yeah. It's the same type of blueprint, is it not? So Dwayne Haskins, his stat line, 38 of 55 for 295 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions, 3 carries for 28 yards. he had an okay, relatively good game at the end of that half. And I know that a lot of people are going to point to the Seahawks, took their foot off the pedal a little bit, and that knowing that they had the game, they just had to outlast them. But we've seen other quarterbacks benefit from the same type of garbage time, and Dwayne was able to get the ball down the field, was able to get the ball in the end zone, and obviously the extra point, the interception early on in that game is the reason why they couldn't just kick a field goal. Obviously at the end of the game, a lot of people are going to point to Morgan Moses' the two sacks at the end of the game to force them out of touchdown range, but you have to imagine if they get that one sack, the next play they can do is running the football. And then they're in a position to kick the field goal to tie the game and head into overtime. So I don't want to kill the offensive line. I thought the offensive line did very well the entire game. There was multiple times where Dwayne Haskins was able to sit in that pocket and be able to decide where to throw the football. And early on in that game, he was not decisive. He was staring down targets. Like you said before, Seattle knew where we were going with the football. But later on that game, you really saw him start to get more into that rhythm and get J.D. McKissic, who had a great game, 13 carries, 51 yards, 3.9 average, and then 9 receptions, 56 yards and a touchdown. His touchdown was a beautiful play action drag to the right, and Haskins had it was on the money, that ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was, he was wide open. The play action it drew that play up perfectly. And yeah, Haskins was on the money. I mean, there's probably people out there that would have loved him to have missed that play. It was an open receiver to J.D. McKissic. But yeah, again, we showed fighting spirit and we showed that this team never gives up. And that's what you want going into the remaining 2 games in the playoffs. You want to see things like this. Always try and take some. I know you're a very positive guy. I am today as well. I'm like, take the things out of this game that you want to see the Panthers and the Eagles. And if we do make to the playoffs, take these things and, use them to our benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. And that being said, Andy, I have to ask you, Chase Young, do you think that he had a relatively bad game? I'm hearing this mantra about how the one big run by Russell Wilson was his fault and about gap integrity and everything. How do you think of Chase Young's game today?
I thought he was okay. It wasn't, the problem Chase has got for a rookie, he set high expectations. And we're all going to expect them every single game now. And he'll even say that. He'll say that himself. His mum will say that. What I mean? She's probably on at him. Me and you have said before, chatting when we just talked during the week of football, he set a bar now, and he'll want to stay to that standard. But then he'll have to remember that opposition teams are going to raise their game to play against him. Yeah, did he make a mistake for that play? Yeah, probably. He got caught underneath a little bit, left himself too much to do. Yeah, but he'll be the first. The good thing about him is he'll be the first person to admit that. He'll go back and watch the film, and I can guarantee you them mistakes will be rectified for next week.
Yeah, and the stats back it up that these rookie rushers rarely ever come into league and dominate because the pass rush position, it is a chess match with these linemen, and that chess match is what Chase has to figure out. And generally that kind of gets figured out in your second year. We're seeing that with Montez Sweat, who has seven sacks so far this year. He had the tip pass on Russell Wilson that led to Daron Payne's great interception. Yeah. But the thing is with Chase Young, it's like those small mental lapse, and he got caught inside, and that I talked about it as one of my keys to the game, that they had to keep their gap integrity. They had to keep Russell Wilson inside the pocket, and you see that when you lose that gap integrity, if you give up those rushing lanes to him, he's going to bleed you out, and that's exactly what he did. It's a learning experience for Chase Young. I think people are beating up on him too much, saying, I was listening to 106.7, and one guy was saying, stop giving him his flowers, stop pumping this guy up that he's something that he's not. And look, I don't think anybody is. It's just the kid is very, very special. And yes, he still has a ways to go as a pass rusher, which is incredibly scary for the league, I will say.
They even said it on the commentary, though, didn't they? The Fox guys were like, headlines don't win you games every week. Get your head out the headlines or something stupid like that. Even I thought that was a stupid, typical any excuse to bash Washington. But again, he's a rookie. He's learning. The fact that we've been talking about him going to the Pro Bowl. He's a rookie. Yeah. You give the guy a break. He's made 2 mistakes probably all season. Detroit, he made that mistake at the end of the game, which cost us. He made a mistake today. Did it cost us the game? Right. No. Will he learn from it? Yes.
Yeah, and then Cameron Curl with leading the team in tackles with 8 in total, 6 solo. He had one wrap-up tackle. I believe it was on Carlos Hyde, if I'm not mistaken, and that was just a beautiful open field tackle. Wrapped him up and drove him into the ground. He again is balling out as the rookie as he is. Reeves did a good job today, but obviously this team it was a team loss. I will totally say that. Special teams had a hand in it, defense had a hand in it, and so did the offense. Nobody can walk away from this game saying that they really left it all out there, I think, except for Logan Thomas. That dude balled the hell out. He did everything he possibly could to win them the football game, and he put them in the best possible position. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he kind of had the attitude of, right, okay, no Alex Smith, no Antonio Gibson. I'm carrying this team on my back. Anything that comes to me, legit, I'm going to try. Yeah, he is. I mean, he's my guy. I love the guy. And there's been talk, is he a tight end one? Right, he's proving it week after week after week. And, this guy needs to be on this football team for a few seasons to come now. He's another, what we're seeing from Chase Young. Logan is doing that. He's getting better week after week after week, and he's becoming reliable, which is what you want from a tight end. You want someone that's reliable. If you throw him the ball, he'll yards after catch as well. When he catches the ball, the yards he makes up for a big dude as well. He can move.
Yeah.
He's a big dude, and he just flings people out of the way. So, yeah, he today I thought he tried to he showed what a captain. You know what I mean? He kind of he's got that captain kind of mentality about him. He got the team on his back. He said, "Look, give me the ball. I'm gonna make a play."
Yeah, and that's exactly what he did. I think that's a perfect way to sum it up because he played at the top of his level. There was one pass that Dwayne threw to him that was behind him and very, very low. And even Vilma made a comment that most wide receivers don't even make that catch. And Logan Thomas was able to pick it up at his ankles and be able to get the really good passing down. He played incredibly well today. And I think that what's going to get overshadowed is the fight of this team, because we've seen in this team's past that generally in these games they lay down. Not this team, not this year, man. They fight, and they really do go blow for blow, and they make sure the other team feels it. Look, Jamal Adams at the end of that game, he was laying on the turf. Did you see him laying there like, oh, yes, we got out of here with a win? And that's what this Washington football team does, man. They really force the issue, and I really am proud of them, to be honest. I know it's a win. I know it's a loss, and they fall to 6-8, and the Giants have a good chance of being able to get up to 6-8 with the win. I think tonight, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 1:20 in the morning for me.
Oh yeah, you're not gonna be up for that. But they could easily be 6-8. That conversation could be well again coming around. So George Allen wants to know, Aunt Burrows, does the Panthers game become a must-win now?
It doesn't really, because no matter what, I've said this for ages, I think it's going to come down to the Eagles game. Depending what the Giants do, the Cowboys are now only a game back, so the East is being the East at the minute, Carl. You know what I mean? But we're in the driving seat. Like I tweeted out, if I had said to you this time last season, we're going to be leading the East with 2 games to go, we're going to have a chance of going to the playoffs. It's taken on great importance, which is why I think Alex Smith didn't play today. It's why I think they didn't rush Antonio Gibson back today. Ron Rivera knows that next week, if we win that game, there's a strong, strong chance we'll be in.
Yeah, and I think I don't think it becomes a must-win. I thought these last 4 games were a must-win to begin with, because you're playing with house money at this point. Nobody expected them to be here. They shouldn't be here by all accounts because the division is so bad. But the fact is that you're basically gearing towards the future, and every win this season, if you make it to the playoffs, it's going to really generate some production and positive feeling around the team. And if you're thinking about this from a Ron Rivera standpoint, where you're trying to build a winner as a one organism as the team, you're way ahead of schedule with where you are right now. So you want to win every single game because you know it's generating towards the future. The more games you win, the higher the floor, the ceiling is going to be for this team in the future, in the very near future. And I think this is a playoff team. I think they proved that today. What do you think?
Yeah, and didn't they say during the game, if the playoffs were today, we'd play the Seahawks again? So, we could be in this situation when we play the Seahawks again with Antonio Gibson back, with Alex Smith fully fit, so if we can do what we've done today with limited options, yeah, I think this team has come on leaps, and that's what we need to remember as a fan base. Look how far we've come.
Yeah.
Last season, the season before, Jay Gruden's team. This team epitomizes Ron Rivera and what he believes in and what he stands up for. He's never say die kind of guy. You've
Yeah.
only got to look at what he's gone through this season. We have it shows in this football team now that we are Ron Rivera's team.
Yeah, and honestly, Andy, when you think of the Seahawks, what do you think of? You think of the deep downfield passing with Tyler Lockett, with DK Metcalf just throwing bomb after bomb. Russell Wilson was 18 of 27 for 121 yards and a touchdown and an interception. That was not – I don't want fans walking away from this game discouraged. This defense played incredibly well against a very potent offense that they have embarrassed a lot of teams in this league, and their usual suitors didn't. But they had a couple mistakes, and I think that's what Ron Rivera talked about in his press conference. He was most frustrated that they didn't take the opportunities that were there, and the Seahawks did, and that was the difference in the game. And I think it was that long run by Carlos Hyde, because honestly, you take that away, I think they did incredibly well against this offense. This defense deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, we have to be disappointed in certain things like Ron Rivera. He's going to sit down tomorrow, he'll watch the film, and yeah, he's going to be disappointed. But us as fans, we have to take the positives out of this. Yeah, we're all upset that we lost a game of football, but I'm not as upset today as I would have been under a Jay Gruden team or teams gone by of the past. I know that they haven't gone out and lost this game, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? We've tried to win it last season. We would have lost that by, you probably could have doubled
30
that score.
points.
Yeah, we will. But
they wouldn't have scored in the second half. I'll tell you that.
No, we wouldn't have scored in the second. Yeah, you've only got to look at I don't know what happened in our locker room last season. We went in at half time. I don't know what Jay Gruden used to say to him. You're never getting that under Ron Rivera. Look at Pittsburgh. Yeah. Look at today. Look at other games where we've been down. This team, they don't do that anymore. That's what we need. Our mentality and fans' mentality now has to change as well, knowing that this isn't the same Washington football team that we're used to. This is a different team nowadays.
Yeah, and they're playing meaningful football in December. And I used to make a lot of enemies on Twitter because I was a Jay Gruden guy. Because one of the aspects that I was always saying is I'm used to this team being irrelevant. And even though that Jay Gruden is kind of a sloppy head coach and not the best, they're playing meaningful games in December. And that's not something that should be overlooked and looked at as something that's stupid. Like, this should be accepted and celebrated, the fact that they are in these games and they're fighting to the teeth and they are willing their way, trying to get these victories. They're not just laying down. They're not just trying to earn a paycheck. Morgan Moses, with one leg, came back in that game because he wanted to be a part of that touchdown drive. And that really says a lot about this team. I don't want fans feeling discouraged. I don't want fans arguing with one another about Haskins. I've had my input about Haskins, but I'm a realist in the situation and saying that he did a good job today. In the second half. In the first half, he had a lot of mistakes. Again, I've tried to explain this where early in that first half, Dwayne would hit his checkdowns late. And you would see a linebacker right on J.D. McKissic. As soon as he caught the ball, he was getting tackled. In that second half, you saw him actually hit J.D. McKissic in rhythm, where J.D. McKissic would catch the ball and turn upfield. You actually saw that starting to materialize, and that is what's really beneficial for a quarterback, and you saw that with Dwayne. So as much as he had a bad first half, I love the second half. So I would give him a 5 out of 10. I think he was split right down the middle. What about you, Andy?
Yeah, 100% agree with you, my friend. I'd say a 5 or 6 first half, not very good. He did stare down a lot of receivers, but and he seemed to be more confident in the pocket in the second half. And dare I say it, probably moved a lot better around than Alex Smith can now. We all know that Alex can't run as and that was what impressed me as well. I was like, oh, hang on, Dwayne's. When you saw him going down for that first yard pylon, he was going through it. He's throwing himself in there. He's putting his body on the line. He might not have done that when at the start of the season when we had him. So that's obviously something that he's learned. His pocket awareness is better. Yes, he probably held onto the ball a bit too long, but again, that's something that he's going to learn. Every game for Dwayne Haskins is a job interview because let's be honest, he's probably not going to be with us next season. Probably not. We don't know, but I'm thinking he's not. We all know not a Ron Rivera guy. Ron wants to go in a different way. So Haskins is probably take all these opportunities that you can so you get a job next year.
Yeah, and then LeVar wants to know, Andy, why does the Washington football team wait until the end of the third quarter before deciding to play competitively?
It's what we do. I don't know what it is in us. Maybe we have to be down these scores to get back into a game. We need some fire in our belly. Yeah, you should have that in you from the first quarter. But I don't know. It just seems to be our way this season. It seems to be what we do. I don't know why. They probably don't know why. It's not like they go out intentionally and go, okay, yeah, well, we'll make sure we're a couple of scores down and then we'll start fighting. It's hard to put your finger on it.
So it's kind of like a boxer, right? With Floyd Mayweather, what Floyd Mayweather does is Floyd Mayweather likes to dance a lot, right? What he likes to do is he likes to make sure that he doesn't get hit at all. He's not going to throw many punches. He'll get a jab in just to get his points, but he'll keep dancing the whole time. He'll keep dancing, making sure you keep missing, doing this, doing that. And that's essentially what the Washington football team does, is they try to dance with the opponent as much as possible. And sometimes the opponent gets a jab and it gets a really good hook in there and hits them. And that's when it starts getting bad, but it's the multiple hits. And what we saw today is there was only one in that first half, right? And that was that touchdown to Hollister after the interception. So you see them trying to gain that way, and then when it gets to the back end of the rounds, that's when Floyd really starts to hit him in the face and everything, and that's what they do, is they kind of feel out the competition. They wait for that back end because they have to get into that gelling kind of form, whereas a veteran team, they know their mindset. They want to implement their will on an opponent, where with a young team, they're almost saying, I have to feel you out before I hit you. And that's what they're doing. Once they get older, they're better acclimated as a team, they'll be able to be the ones that hit first. What do you think, Andy?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, it is like you say, it's a young team. We're learning as we go. No one expected us to be here where we are this season. And like you say, if this season will be a learning curve, we'll take that into next season. The longer this team play together, the bond they have with Ron Rivera, they get used to the play calling from Scott Turner's first season. I've been critical of him. Slowly he's getting a lot better as well.
Yeah, 2-point conversion call was bad though.
That was terrible. I mean, the play call up for that was, then again, first quarter as well, look, everyone's getting on Haskins. I'm like, them plays were so easy to defend against. As the Seahawks, you must have been like, Haskins got the ball, 5-yard check down. Next play, Haskins got the ball, 5-yard check down. Haskins got the ball, hand off to the running back. It was so easy. You're like, show some trust in him. Draw up a play that you're getting Terry McLaurin into the game.
Part of the reason for that, Andy, is because Dwayne does wear the wristband, the armband. And and as much as we all like to make football into an easy as Madden with play calls, they're very sophisticated in the way that they're said. And you saw that with receivers being in the same area, because what happens is when a quarterback rips off a play call, each part of that play call is telling a unit what to do on that certain play. And so when you see the receivers in the same vicinity, that means that was replicated or it was said in the wrong sequence. So somebody was understanding what was being said, but somebody else heard the mistake and took it to heart. So so that's how you see the same guys in the same area. So with Dwayne, I feel like early on in that game, Scott Turner was dumbing the play calls down just to get Dwayne in a rhythm with the play calls, to be able to get him trying to go those quick routes. And it was quickly blowing up in their face. And then they started to attack down the field, and that's when Dwayne really started to get into a rhythm, in my opinion. I don't want to go with Scott too much.
Do you think the Seahawks do that as well, though? Do you think the Seahawks they knew that was coming as well, didn't you?
Without a doubt.
In the first quarter, the Seahawks defense were on every set. Terry got the ball, bam, he was hit. Someone got the ball.
You'll notice that once Logan Thomas started getting those 5 to 10 yard out routes, the defense really started respecting the ball deeper. They weren't playing the line of scrimmage so far close. And then you saw Terry getting his catches for the slant routes, going for big yardage, and then Logan Thomas was doing his part. So I think you're right. I think that Scott Turner was trying to massage Dwayne in. I just don't want to go on Scott too much because as a coordinator, he's had to adjust his game plan now 5 different times this season based on the quarterback. And so he's trying to gel with this guy who hasn't gotten much reps, and they worked together throughout this week, and Scott kind of figured that these play calls early on was going to get him in that rhythm. And I thought that, yes, it was bad, and I thought the worst play call was that 2-point conversion
Oh.
because because like you had just said with Dwayne's mobility, I thought that they should use the option in that scenario with Dwayne being able to keep it and then take it in
Yeah.
because he's such a big guy. I don't like the only having one option to Peyton Barber. I want to be able to decide what to do on that play. What do you think?
Yeah, I would have kept it with Dwayne. I mean, like you say, he's a big guy. He can move around. They probably wouldn't have expected him to run it in. So, yeah, I'd like to see a bit more, a bit more, I don't know.
Creativity.
Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Well done. Thanks. I'm glad you're here. Creativity down in, you think just little things like that in games that change games, the missed extra point, little things like that. If we can just get right, then we'll be better for it. But again, it's all learning, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It is. And look, this is a team that is without their starting quarterback, without their starting running back, without two of their starting linebackers. I'm not here to point excuses, but they still had a chance to win the football game. So look, everybody, calm down. Don't jump ship. They played incredibly well. They were resilient as a group. And as bad as the defense looked at times, they played incredibly well. They deserve a lot of credit for stopping this high-powered offense, because one of their biggest issues all season, Andy, has been getting hit deep, has it not? And that did not really happen today except for on the ground, which is tackling. And they've been one of the better tackling teams all season. I'm not sure what that was about, but look, I don't want this, like, everyone all of a sudden going into panic mode and thinking that the season's gone. You know what I mean?
Oh, no chance. No chance. It's one game. We'll come out a different side next Sunday against the Panthers. Ron Rivera knows he's not silly. That's why they didn't risk Gibson today. That's why they didn't risk Alex Smith. He's going to get a good week's work in with these guys, and we will be a prepared football team next Sunday.
Yeah, and look, as much as we want to say going against Carolina is like a fresher breath air based on like the recent competition that Washington has faced, they can't go into that game thinking that way. If they go into Carolina thinking the way that they went into against the Seahawks in that second half, they can whoop ass. And it's all based on them, in my opinion. If they go in with the right mindset, if they're not full of themselves, they can walk all over Carolina. If they take it with a very serious notion, I think they can easily win next weekend. It's just all based on mindset, in my opinion.
Yeah, just come out and play. I mean, like you say, someone sent in a question, why does it take us to the third quarter to get playing? Next week, don't come out like we did against Dallas when we played them on Thanksgiving. Come out of them kind of games. Come out of the blocks firing. Know that you're 2 games away from doing something that Washington haven't done for a long time. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Playoff football, my friend. It's in our own hands. We haven't got to rely on anyone else.
Yep.
Let's do what we've got to do and get in. And I think under Ron Rivera, we stand a great chance of doing that. So, yeah, everyone, this one game, we're all upset that we lost a game of football. But I'm not as upset as I would have been this time last season.
Absolutely. I'm right there with you. Hope is what we have. And meaningful football in December and possibly January based on how the season goes, right? Look, I'm getting hyped up, Andy. That's going to be crazy. But they got to finish the season 2-0, in my opinion. They have to. There's no other way. But, Andy, I really appreciate you taking the time out, being able to talk about this very bad loss. But, look, it is what it is. It's a building block, and they got to use it. I really appreciate you coming on. And, again, if you guys haven't already, go check out Andy's podcast, the DC Tweet Team Podcast. It's incredibly well run. He's doing a great job getting some all-star guests. Go and check them out all over the stratosphere.
I appreciate you, my friend. You know, you are the reason I'm here, sir. So anytime you need me, I'm always grateful to come on the Burgundy Zone, my friend.
Of course. I mean, stay tight over there. I know you guys got put back in lockdown, but we're here for you. You know, all you got to do, whenever you want to talk football, all you got to do is message me, brother. I'm always down.
Yes, you are. If you could release a podcast every day next week, that would be great, my friend. It's Christmas Day. It's Christmas Day, maybe not, but I wish you guys a happy holidays, my friend. It's been a privilege getting to know you this year, and I wish you all the best over there.
You too, sir. You have a Merry Christmas. Have a happy holiday. Stay safe, and make sure you enjoy it well. All right, you deserve it because you've kicked ass this year, Andy.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. Take care.
Of course. All right, everybody. We'll see you guys on Tuesday. Washington football. Woo! Washington football. Woo!